The Davis administration's Crackdown 2024 Building Safer Communities is in full effect, leading off with a major legislative offensive, an amendment to the Bail Act.
Our amendment will ensure that bail is automatically revoked for those accused persons who commit offenses while on bail. This includes those found to be in violation of the terms of their bail, an offense under the amendment. This measure sends a clear message. Our legal system will no longer tolerate those who flout its rules and endanger our communities.
The plan also includes expanding school policing, community policing, establishing a confidential informant fund, and special units for anti-gang and domestic violence. The plan also includes the involvement of every Bahamian citizen.
Speaking up is not snitching. It may well be what saves your life or the lives of your children. I shudder to think how many lives, innocent lives, we might have saved had someone spoken up, sought help, or intervened sooner. True and lasting progress requires the active participation of every citizen who yearns for a safer Bahamas.
The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Office of the Prime Minister for our weekly press briefing. It's good to see all of you. This morning, we will have a singular focus as we speak with the Attorney General on the tenets of the Bail Act, or the amendment to the Bail Act, which was tabled in Parliament by Prime Minister Philip Davis yesterday. The Attorney General will speak on that and related matters. I'm sure that you have a lot of questions surrounding that. We'll hear from the Attorney General on that bill and, of course, take your questions following that. We won't take long to get started, so without any further ado, Attorney General, Senator the Honorable Ryan Pinder.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thanks for coming here today. Today, I'm here to discuss the approach of the Davis administration has taken with respect to the Bail Amendment Bill 2024 that was tabled in Parliament yesterday. This change to the Bail Act and other initiatives underway are part of the government's broader strategy, Crackdown 2024. Building safer communities is an approach which includes 5 key pillars: prevention, policing, prosecution, punishment, and rehabilitation. The Office of the Attorney General, through the Department of Public Prosecutions and the Judiciary, are the components with responsibility for prosecution and punishment with the help from investigations of the police force. A collaborative approach between the police, prosecutors, and the judiciary is important to ensuring the effective and timely prosecution of criminals. These three agencies of government have formed a special working group. Together, we will evaluate additional potential reforms, test their efficacy within our system, and build on what works. One discussion point of this special committee relates to bail. Under what circumstances should it be granted? Under what circumstances should it be denied? And how the police, prosecutors, and judges can share with each other other relevant information and developments when appropriate. As Bahamians know, Article 20 of our Constitution gives all persons accused of criminal offenses the presumption of innocence until a court of law finds them guilty or they plead guilty or not guilty. Notwithstanding this and the grant of bail to accused, and notwithstanding delays in trials, there are grounds in law ratified and approved by the Court of Appeal where the grant of bail can be denied. Courts have denied bail in two specific instances. The first, when granting bail would threaten public safety and order, and the second, when granting bail would put the defendant himself, the accused, at risk, and the defendant should be kept in custody for his own protection. Courts have become more diligent in applying these standards, and lately we have seen more instances of bail being denied by the courts. This is progress. The Bail Amendment Act 2024 addresses an additional set of circumstances, situations in which bail already granted should be revoked. All too frequently, we have seen individuals who are out on bail commit new crimes and offenses, and then remarkably, they are released on bail once more, and in some cases, once again going on to commit further offenses. In addition, we have also seen instances where the accused out on bail violates his terms of bail. For example, by removing your ankle monitor, as that is a condition of which you have been released, yet receives only a fine and is released back on bail. We are talking here about repeat offenders, multiple offenders, and in many cases, violent offenders. Granting bail by the courts under these circumstances has generally been at the discretion of the presiding judge. The Bail Amendment Bill 2024, tabled in the House of Assembly yesterday, changes this. An accused on bail who commits new criminal acts and convicted of those acts should not be granted bail once more. And when we pass this amendment, they will no longer have that opportunity. So let me explain to you how the amendment works. The first part of the amendment to the Bail Act sets the parameters for granting a bail bond. So you sign a bail bond when you're released on bail. So it's simple. If you're convicted of an offense, remember you have convicted of an offense while on bail, your bail bond will be revoked. The bail provides that this structure will adhere to all bail bonds issued by the courts. There's no question of the presumption of innocence because there's a conviction for an offense. So this isn't only if charged, that you have to be convicted of an offense while being on bail. The point is bolstered by the removal of the option of a fine, so that imprisonment is the only option for those who are convicted for breaching their bail conditions. Previously, you would see somebody receive a fine for violating and being convicted of breaking their bail conditions. That is no longer under this amendment. So let me detail the provisions of the bill that accomplish this reform. For the first time, in new section 9A, we define the framework for entering into bail bonds and even provide the format of what a bail bond looks like in the schedule, Schedule 3. This change is foundational in establishing a clear, structured framework for bail awards, reinforcing the accountability of those released under such conditions of bail. So Section 9A, subsection 3 of the amendment, and the amendment is online at Laws Online, the breach of, I quote, the breach of any of the conditions contained in the recognizance of bail shall result in the revocation of bail. So that's the provision that says if you breach your conditions, your bail is revoked. Furthermore, Section 9A, subsection 5 provides, and I quote, the recognizance of bail shall be conditioned that the accused person not commit any offense while on bail. So that's the embedded condition in the bail. So when you sign your bail, you agree that you're not going to offend the law while on bail. These two elements now make it mandatory and integrated into the bail bond itself that if an accused on bail violates the conditions of his bail or is convicted of committing an offense while on bail, that bail bond is automatically revoked. Remember, the bail bond, its parameters, and its conditions are affirmatively agreed to by the accused. So the accused signs the bail bond agreeing to the conditions in that bail bond. We've seen that before. A condition that you check in at the police station, for example, or a condition that you wear an ankle monitor, for example. These are all conditions of your bail. We are adding the condition that you do not offend the law, you do not be convicted of an offense while being on bail. In these cases where the accused violates these very conditions that he has agreed to when he signed the bail bond and is convicted of an offense while on bail, that bail, again, is revoked. The amendment in sections 12, 12A, and 12B of the Act is also particularly significant, and you'll find these in the amendment. The amendment reaffirms the current law that a violation of the conditions of an accused bail is an offense. So violating the bail is an offense. However, significantly, this part of the amendment removes the option of a fine as a penalty for violating the conditions of your bail. From now on, the only penalty for violating your bail conditions is jail. Yes, this is being described as a hardline approach, but we believe that what is needed, it is what is needed here in service of justice and to protect our families and our communities. The mandatory revocation of bail under these circumstances is part of a larger, aggressive strategy to combat crime, focusing on rigorous enforcement, technological advancement, and judicial reform. The government and the Office of the Attorney General continue to collaborate and work towards more timely and effective prosecutions. We have committed to improving the judicial infrastructure with a new Supreme Court complex. We have committed to putting in place specialty courts, such as juvenile courts, family courts, sexual offenses courts, to provide more focused and expedited dispute resolution and administration of justice. And we have already passed amendments to increase the number of Supreme Court justices. All of these are integrated strategies to enhance the prosecution and punishment of criminals and generally enhance the administration of justice in our society. I want to thank the Chief Justice and his team for the willingness to work together to ensure a safer society. We are making advances. We are causing for quicker trials to happen. We are ensuring higher rates of convictions and ensuring that confidence in our judicial system and prosecutions of criminals is strengthened. Our people deserve safety and security, and it is an honor to be one of the many, many Bahamians across our country who are working hard to create meaningful and enduring progress on this front. I want to thank you for coming, and I'm certainly happy to entertain any questions.
I just was curious, I know 2 weeks prior to this amendment, you would have said that there's no need to amend
the Bail Act. So are you able to say, I guess, why the government had a change of heart now?
So it's not a change of heart, and if you would have seen my quote that was actually in the papers today, when asked that question, it was in the context of amending the Bail Act regarding the granting of bail and the denial of bail. And I made clear that our regime provides for that and no amendments would be necessary because we, as I described earlier, there are grounds for the denial of bail. What this amendment seeks to do is provide a framework for bail to be revoked, which is a different context and concept from when I was asked the question. I still stand by those comments, but those comments were with respect to the granting of bail and parameters for the denial of bail.
Some defense lawyers would have said that the amendments to the Bail Act wouldn't necessarily change the status quo or affect Supreme Court judges in using their discretion.
Well, again, I mean, I read the same article that was in the paper today, and that article was about the granting of bail, right? And so we're not touching the granting of bail other than adding a condition when bail is granted that you don't commit an offense while on bail. So I mean, I agree to her because we're not amending that part of the Bail Act. What this will do is this puts in parameters of circumstances when your bail is revoked, and it shall be revoked when you commit an offense and are convicted of that offense when on bail. So it's two different subject matters. And so I agree with the article. This isn't going to deal with issues on the discretion to grant bail. What this deals with is the revoking of bail when you commit a crime and are convicted of that crime while you're on bail.
Okay, and I know a lot of times persons that are being electronically monitored, they have complaints with like issues with the monitoring device. So is there, I guess, any like assurities that's going to be in place, you know, in instances like that?
Well, if they have an issue with the condition, remember, wearing an ankle monitor is a condition of your bail. If you have a problem with the condition of your bail that the court has put in place, your recourse is to come back to the court. Your recourse is not to take off the ankle monitor. Removing the ankle monitor is a crime because it's a violation of your bail terms.
I have a question. Developer Joe Lewis was indicted last night, and I wanted to know if you're aware and if you have a comment with the connection to the Bahamas and our image, and especially that it's being tied to FTX developer as well.
Well, it's completely unrelated to FTX, so I'd really like to hear how you think it's related to FTX.
To the Bahamas specifically is what I'm saying.
No, I mean, he's a permanent resident investor in the Bahamas. I mean, I have no real comment on that. Any other questions?
Any update on marijuana legislation is there?
So we're still on pace to be able to table that compendium of legislation next month in Parliament. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, AG Pinder, for those comments and clarification. And I think that's it for us. With that, we bring our presser to a close. And if there are any questions, queries, feel free to reach out to us at the Office of the Prime Minister. Good afternoon, everyone.
I can get a copy of your speech.
Yeah.